What if I told you the engineers who built your GM, Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, and Nissan engine knew it was going to fail, and built it anyway? Not because they forgot how to make a reliable motor, because someone ran the numbers and decided your engine failing was cheaper than following the rules. 42 fires, 12 injuries, 5 million engines. And if you missed part 1 of this video, the link is in the description below. Here's more truth they never wanted public. The brand nobody is talking about. If you watched part 1, you know the story. GM, Toyota, Honda, and Hyundai are facing a massive engine failure crisis. Over 5 million engines recalled or under investigation, billions in damages, swarf, thin oil, tight tolerances, and CAFE pressure creating the perfect storm. But part 2 goes further. There's another manufacturer we haven't exposed yet. A hidden engine safety net quietly removed years ago, a spreadsheet proving automakers calculated the cost of failure, and a Japan versus America oil scandal buried in the recall documents. Meet Nissan. In 2025, Nissan was forced to recall approximately 500,000 vehicles equipped with their VC turbo engine. 500,000 vehicles. And this one barely made the news. The VC turbo is one of the most technically ambitious engines ever put into a mass-market vehicle. Variable compression technology, meaning the engine can actually change its compression ratio on the fly, between 8:1 and 14:1, depending on load. On paper, it sounds brilliant. In practice, it is a mechanical nightmare. The turbocharged 3-cylinder version lives in the Nissan Rogue. The turbocharged 4-cylinder version powers the Murano, the Altima, and the Infiniti QX50 and QX60. These are not fringe vehicles. These are mainstream family cars that hundreds of thousands of people are driving right now. And the failure mode? Bearing failure. Again, the exact same pattern we saw with GM, Toyota, Honda, and Hyundai. Bearing wear so severe, it requires a full engine replacement. Here is why the VC turbo is particularly vulnerable. Variable compression means more moving parts. More moving parts means more complexity. More complexity means more failure points. And when you layer that on top of the same thin oil, tight tolerance, high-pressure environment we broke down in part 1, you get an engine that is fighting physics on multiple fronts simultaneously. The real-world failure rate is not catastrophic yet, but the recall happened. The pattern is there, and if you are shopping for a used Rogue, Murano, or Altima from 2019 onward, you need to know this engine exists and exactly what it is capable of. The safety net they removed and never replaced. Now here is something that did not make it into part 1, and it might be the single most important thing in this entire video. For decades, engine bearings had a secret weapon built right into them. A thin layer of lead on the surface. Not a lot of lead, just a soft, forgiving overlay sitting on top of the bearing material. And that lead did something absolutely critical. It was forgiving. If a tiny piece of debris, a microscopic metal particle, a fragment of swarf, got into your oil and hit that bearing, it would just embed right into that soft lead layer and sit there, harmlessly. The engine kept running. You never knew it happened. If your oil pressure dropped for a split second during a cold start, the lead layer absorbed it. If your engine ran slightly hot on a long summer tow, the lead could handle it. It was a buffer, a safety net, built into every bearing in every engine for decades. Then environmental regulations, specifically laws targeting toxic materials in vehicles, pushed manufacturers to eliminate lead from engine components entirely. And look, protecting the environment matters. Nobody is arguing that. But here is the problem nobody went back and solved. When you remove the lead, you replace it with harder aluminum-based alloys. Cleaner? Yes. More durable in a perfect world? Sure. But forgiving? Absolutely not. These new bearings do not absorb debris. They get scored by it. They do not tolerate a momentary drop in oil pressure. They take damage from it. Every single imperfection that the old lead bearings would have quietly absorbed now becomes a direct attack on the bearing surface. So think about what is sitting in your engine right now. Ultra-thin oil providing the thinnest possible protective film. Tolerance is so tight that the slightest imperfection breaks through that film. And underneath all of that, hard bearings with zero ability to forgive any of it. 3 safety nets pulled out at the same time, and then the power got cranked up, and it was called progress. Tom Howell, the powertrain tester who spoke to Automotive News, put it plainly. Thinner oils, tighter tolerances, and harder bearing materials are all contributing to these failures. Harder bearings mean less forgiveness, less ability to absorb debris, and almost zero margin for error. That is not a design evolution. That is a house of cards. The Japan versus America oil spec scandal. Here is something that should make every American car owner furious, and it is hiding in plain sight inside the manufacturer's own documentation. The same engines that are failing in the United States are being sold in other countries with completely different oil specifications. Subaru specs 0W16 oil in the US. The exact same engine in Japan? 0W20 to 5W30 is acceptable. Toyota is doing the same thing across multiple models. Why? Because other countries do not have CAFE standards as aggressive as ours. The manufacturer knows thicker oil works better in that engine. They are using it everywhere else in the world. But in America, they spec the thinnest possible oil to squeeze out a fraction of a mile per gallon on an EPA test cycle. And if you need more proof that the oil is the problem, look at GM's own recall fix for the 6.2 liter. They switched from 0W20 to 0W40, twice as thick. If thin oil was not the problem, why is thicker oil suddenly the solution? It is right there in their own recall documents. In plain English, they know. They have always known. But admitting that publicly means admitting the oil was never adequate for that engine in real-world driving. It means admitting they sold you a truck with oil specs designed to pass a government test, not to protect your engine for 200,000 miles. And that admission opens the door to billions in liability. So they stay quiet, and you keep driving. COVID broke the factories, and those engines are hitting their breaking point right now. Here is a factor that is not talked about enough, and it explains exactly why complaint volumes are exploding at this specific moment in time. Engines built between 2020 and 2022 came out of completely chaotic factories, skeleton crews, new suppliers brought in with no track record because established ones had shut down, quality inspectors either gone or running at reduced capacity, normal validation protocols thrown out the window because production schedules could not slip, and the results are documented in federal recall filings. Not rumors, not speculation. Federal documents. GM struggled with out-of-spec connecting rod dimensions. Toyota confirmed manufacturing contamination issues at both its Japanese and Alabama plants during specific production windows. Stellantis found actual sand trapped inside engine blocks. Sand. Inside the engine block. On vehicles that were shipped to dealerships and sold to real people. Here is the brutal timing of it. Those 2020 to 2022 engines are now at 60,000 to 100,000 miles. That is exactly the mileage range where hidden manufacturing defects that were microscopic at the factory become catastrophic on the road. The warranty complaints are spiking right now because those engines are hitting their failure point right now. We are living through the delayed consequences of 3 years of compromised manufacturing, all surfacing at the same time. And the worst of it may not even be here yet. The city miles versus highway miles, truth. Here is something almost nobody is talking about. And it changes how you should think about every used vehicle you ever consider buying. The odometer is lying to you, not intentionally, but the number of miles on the clock is not the real story. The number of start cycles is. Fleet trucks, the ones that rack up 150,000 miles in 2 or 3 years, often outlast personal trucks with only 50,000 city miles. Why? Because highway trucks do not get the constant start-stop abuse. The engine gets up to temperature and stays there. Oil pressure stays consistent. Bearings run with a full protective film all day long. Your city commute might be running 40 to 50 start-stop cycles every single morning. That is 40 to 50 moments where oil pressure drops to zero. 40 to 50 micro-wear events on your bearings. Every single day. With ultra-thin 0W20 oil and micron-tight tolerances and hard bearings with no forgiveness left in them. A 2018 naturally aspirated V8 with 100,000 highway miles may genuinely be safer than a 2022 twin-turbo with 30,000 city miles on it. The odometer does not tell you that, but now you know, and that knowledge is worth more than anything a dealer will ever tell you on a test drive. If you're finding this information helpful, please hit like button and subscribe. The corporate spreadsheet. Now let's talk about the part that manufacturers will never say out loud, because this is where it stops being an engineering story and becomes something else entirely. Somewhere in a corporate boardroom, in a glass tower in Detroit or Tokyo or Seoul, there is a spreadsheet. On that spreadsheet are 2 columns. One column shows the projected cost of CAFE penalties if they build engines the right way. Thicker oil, looser tolerances, bigger margins, more metal, proper bearing materials. The kind of engineering that produces a 5.7-liter V8 that runs for 1,000,000 miles. The other column shows the projected cost of warranty claims, lawsuits, and recalls if they build engines that fail at 30,000 miles. The lawsuits column is smaller, so they build the engines that fail. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is corporate finance. And the proof is sitting in every recall document, every NHTSA filing, every class action lawsuit we have covered across both parts of this series. Eric Berg's tear-down bench, Professor Davis's teaching engine at the University of Michigan Flint, Dave's hot tank at Dave's Auto Center, Tom Howell's endurance dyno. 4 engineers in 4 different rooms looking at the same evidence and drawing the same conclusion, and one spreadsheet in a room they will never enter, deciding none of it matters. Engineers did not forget how to build reliable motors. The engineers who built the 5.7-liter Tundra V8 that ran forever, those people did not disappear. What changed is that their bosses came to them and said, "We need to hit 49 miles per gallon across our fleet average, or we are paying billions in penalties. And to hit that number, we need you to do things you know are going to compromise long-term reliability at mass production scale." The manufacturers ran the math. A predictable rate of engine failures was calculated to be less expensive than missing CAFE targets. They made a business decision about your engine's lifespan. They chose compliance over reliability. And you are paying for that decision right now, with a truck that cost you $80,000 and died at 35,000 miles. It is getting worse, not better. Here is the part that is going to make you furious, because this crisis is not stabilizing. It is about to get dramatically worse. The Trump administration rolled back some CAFE standards in 2025. You would think that would relieve pressure on automakers and help reliability. Wrong. What actually happened is far worse. EVs were removed from fleet average calculations. Before this change, manufacturers could count electric vehicles at 200 to 300 miles per gallon equivalent. Those ultra-high numbers offset their gas guzzlers. Ford could sell 15 miles per gallon F-150S, 17 miles per gallon Expeditions, 16 miles per gallon Mustangs, and EVs like the Mach-E and Lightning would balance it all out. They could even buy credits from Tesla. Not anymore. EVs no longer count, but the fuel economy requirement still exists, rolled back slightly to 34 miles per gallon by 2031. Now, automakers have to hit that number without EVs to offset their trucks. And that means one of 3 things is coming. Option 1, even smaller engines, thinner oil, tighter tolerances, pushing the limits further. More failures, more recalls, more disasters. Option 2, massive power cuts. Your next F-150 may drop from 400 horsepower to 250. Your Silverado might tow 5,000 pounds instead of 13,000. Option 3, universal hybrids. Every truck, every SUV, every model gets a battery and electric motor added to it. More components, higher prices, more things to break. Battery degradation tanking resale value year after year. And here is the kicker. Automakers are not walking away from EVs. They have spent billions building those platforms. If political shifts in 2028 tighten standards again, they need to be ready. So they will keep using the exact same strategies that caused this entire mess, despite 5 million failed engines staring them in the face. Hyundai alone is looking at $5 billion in costs for 3.3 million engines. And nothing is truly changing. What this means for real people. This is not just about recalls and statistics. This is about your money, your safety, and your family. These failures are happening on vehicles that cost as much as a house. A Silverado High Country, $80,000. A Tundra TRD Pro, $75,000. A Lexus LX 600, over $100,000. A loaded Escalade, $120,000. And engines are dying at 30,000 to 40,000 miles, sometimes less. Marcus in Ohio, his 2024 Tundra TRD Pro, 18 months old, 35,000 miles. He was dropping his daughter at preschool when he heard the knock. He pulled into a parking lot. The engine seized before he could turn it off. Tow truck, service bay, 2-month back order on a replacement long block. He is still making the $1,200 monthly payment on a truck he cannot drive. That is the reality behind the recall numbers. And the safety picture is even darker. GM logged 14,000 complaints involving complete loss of propulsion, engines dying mid-drive, 12 injuries, 42 fires, 42 engines that caught fire while people were driving their families. Toyota reports stalling and sudden loss of power. Honda's failures involve connecting rod bearings, meaning metal fragments tearing through your engine at thousands of RPM. A rod can punch straight through the engine block or the hood. Hyundai's Palisade recall warns that a broken valve spring can blow a hole right through the engine. These are not inconveniences. These are life-threatening mechanical failures happening in vehicles you trusted with your family's safety. Steps to protect yourself right now. You cannot change what the manufacturers built, but you can stack the odds in your favor. Here is your action plan. Step 1. Check your VIN right now. Go to nhtsa.gov and use the Recall Lookup tool. If your vehicle is included in a recall or active investigation, schedule the repair immediately. These failures often happen without any warning. Fine, 1 day. Destroyed the next. Step 2. Cut your oil change intervals in half. Your manual says 7,500 miles? Do 4,000. An extra $60 a year in oil changes versus a $15,000 to $25,000 engine replacement is not a close call. Use high-quality oil, Mobil 1, Pennzoil Platinum, Valvoline, Castrol, and the correct manufacturer spec like Dexos 1 Gen 3. Step 3. Disable Start-Stop every single time you drive. If your vehicle has a button, press it. If it resets every cycle, a $50 to $100 OBD2 module can disable it permanently. You will lose maybe 0.2 miles per gallon. You will gain years of bearing life. Step 4. After your warranty expires, step up 1 grade on oil. GM already moved recalled 6.2-liter engines to 0W40. If you are running 0W20, consider 0W30 or 5W30 based on your climate. 1 step heavier, not extreme, just enough to give your bearings a fighting chance. Step 5. Monitor your engine constantly. Listen for any new ticking, knocking, or rattling. Check your oil every 1,000 miles. Watch your oil pressure gauge. Low warm idle pressure is a major red flag that something is already wrong. Step 6. Be smart when buying. Avoid first-year redesigns. Avoid 2021 through 2024 model years altogether if buying used. A proven 2015 to 2019 naturally aspirated V8 with 100,000 highway miles may genuinely be safer than a 2023 turbo with 30,000 city miles on it. Step 7. Build your paper defense. For 2020 to 2024 used vehicles, a $2,000 to $3,000 comprehensive warranty covering engine internals may save you from a $15,000 to $20,000 engine replacement. Read the fine print. Make sure it specifically covers bearing failures, and document everything. Save every oil change receipt. Photograph your odometer at every service. Keep records of every dealership visit and every complaint you ever made about engine noise, oil consumption, or warning lights. If your engine fails and the manufacturer tries to deny coverage, that paper trail is the only thing standing between you and a $20,000 repair bill. 5 million engines, $8 billion, 1 spreadsheet. They ran the numbers and decided your engine was expendable. Now you know the truth. So drop your story in the comments. Did your engine fail? Do you think manufacturers will ever fix this? Or is profit always going to win? Let's hear it. And if you enjoyed the content, smash that like button and subscribe for more auto content. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.